Scientists have warned there is a 10% chance that an out-of-control rocket or spacecraft could kill someone within the next decade. They analyzed the risk to human life of objects plummeting to the ground after re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Under current practices, the researchers found that if a typical rocket re-entry spreads debris across a 10 meters (2 area, then there is roughly a 1 in 10 chance that one or more casualties will occur over the next 10 years. They also said there was a higher risk to those living in the global south, with errant parts 3 times more likely to land at the latitudes of Jakarta, Dhaka and Lagos than those of New York, Beijing or Moscow. The research was carried out by experts at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Although rocket launches vary, boosters and other sizable parts from rockets fall back to Earth or are abandoned in orbit. In most cases, the abandoned rocket parts re-enter the atmosphere in an uncontrolled fashion and debris may land anywhere along the flight path. Source: European Space Agency using the past 30 years of satellite data. The University of British Columbia's Michael Byers and colleagues projected the casualty expectation, or risk to human life, over the next decade as a result of uncontrolled rocket re-entries. The team focused on pieces of rockets that remain partially intact and pose a casualty risk on land, at sea or to aeroplanes. The authors found that current practices have, on average, a 10% chance of one or more casualties over the next decade if each re-entry spreads lethal debris over an area of 10 meters (2). Moreover, this risk is borne disproportionately by the global south. The researchers also say that the technology for guided re-entry systems already exists, but what is needed is the collective will to employ these because of the associated costs. They conclude that without multilateral agreements for mandated controlled rocket re-entries, spacefaring nations will continue to export these risks unnecessarily. Recent improvements in technology and mission design make most of these uncontrolled re-entries unnecessary. But that launching states and companies are reluctant to take on the increased costs involved, the team wrote. Those national governments whose populations are being put at risk should demand that major spacefaring states act, together, to mandate controlled rocket re-entries. Create meaningful consequences for non-compliance and thus eliminate the risks for everyone. The study comes amid widespread concern about space junk and the threat it poses, both in low Earth orbit and to humans on the ground. An estimated 13,100 satellites have been launched into orbit since 1957, according to the European Space Agency. With 8,410 remaining in space and 5,800 still functioning. The total mass of all objects in orbit is said to equate to around 9,900 tons. While statistical models suggests there are 130 million pieces of debris from 1 mm to 1 cm in size.